based in Buffalo City. On the far right is Mr. Pierre Leroux. He is the regional chairperson for the South District Municipality. The reason he's sitting here with us is that this municipality surrounds the South District Municipality. And next to him on his left is Uyoli Manase. She is the regional chairperson for Nelson Mandela Bay. And with her, we have her sub-regional coordinators. We've got Sinclair Baitjies from Kariga. There, he's got his hand up there. Sinclair Baitjies from Kariga. And hidden at the back, can we see you, Rina? Is Rina Potgieter. She's the sub-regional coordinator from the northern areas. And we've got Shakes Nugana, is the sub-regional coordinator for Motherwell. So we've got a representative team from the province and from the regions of Nelson Mandela Bay and also South District. 2024 is shaping up. Oh, here's another guest, Pam Guchalepanzimam Jam Jam. She's a sub-regional coordinator from Elundini, Mount Fletcher, Joe Gabi district. So 2024, and she was a former MPL in the provincial legislature from another political party. 2024 is shaping up to be a watershed election. Obviously, there are a number of new political parties. ActionSA is one of those parties. And I often like to stress that we're a new political party, we're not a small political party, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But I want to talk primarily initially about the Eastern Cape. The Eastern Cape is an example of a failed political establishment. I want to repeat that. It's an example of a failed political establishment. That doesn't mean more than just the government, which is ANC-led government. It means that all the political parties that are represented in the legislature in the Eastern Cape and all the political parties represented in every municipality in the Eastern Cape must take responsibility for the fact that we come last on almost every index that you can care to measure a province on. All of this bad administration, maladministration, corruption in the Eastern Cape does not take place in a vacuum. It takes place in the confines of a provincial legislature with an executive that should be held to account by the legislature. It takes place in municipalities where there are councillors that should be holding the municipality to account. So they must all accept culpability. One of the greatest challenges in this province is unemployment, especially rural unemployment. And the very same political establishment, which includes all those political parties, must accept responsibility that we have the highest unemployment rate in the Eastern Cape, and we have the highest youth unemployment rate in the Eastern Cape of 70%. That is a complete disgrace, and the political parties that are represented in those spheres of government that I mentioned should hang their heads in shame that the Eastern Cape is completely disgraceful indexes on any imaginable level that you want to measure. So that is why it is so important that a political party like ActionSA has come into existence in the Eastern Cape, and it's important that we do well in the Eastern Cape. If I can come closer to home, Nelson Mandela Bay, and I know it reasonably well. I was the mayor of the city for 2 years, and I campaigned to become the mayor in the city for nearly 18 months before that, has now got a coalition of corruption running the city. There have been 6 mayors since I was voted out in a motion of no confidence in 2018, at the end of 2019, I beg your pardon, end of 2018. 6 mayors in the last 6 years. It's simply an indication of how chaotic and corrupt the city has become. If you watched Carte Blanche last night, they were using Johannesburg as an example of collusion and corruption between elected office bearers and administrators, where councillors control administrators and where administrators control councillors. They showed it very clearly, and they used the Joburg Property Company as an example. where they have 9,000 properties that they look after, and they don't collect anywhere near the revenue from rentals that they should, and then they go and rent properties from other property owners who buy these properties that are not suitable for anything and then let them to the municipality. It's all just a system designed to extract as much as they can from cities and provinces. It happens everywhere, and this city is no different. It's daylight looting that is allowing these cities to denigrate into the situation that they are. Let me use another example because I think it's really pertinent today. There are 3 former colleagues of mine who were responsible for the motion of no confidence succeeding to remove me as a mayor in the city. They were recently exposed in a court case around the toilet tenders, Pelotona toilet tenders. They were each given 100,000 rand on the same day from the same account. I want to tell you that's the tip of the iceberg. They just become a little bit careless because for the last 5 or 6 years, they've been getting umvuzo from every corrupt contract, every contract out of the municipality. They've been getting money, but they got careless, and they're now in court because they've been exposed that they received the same amount of money on the same day from the same account. And that's what happens. It happens everywhere. And I'm sure the gentleman that I'm about to introduce will tell you similar stories. So good luck to Mr. Manyati, Mr. Higgins, and Mr. Lowe, because their day is coming. ActionSA is really proud and pleased today to make the announcement that we're going to make. Why? Because it's an illustration that we are a melting pot of South Africans that come from all different political persuasions, all racial groups of people that have had enough. Abantu abadikiweyo. We have had enough of enduring corruption. Sidikiwe ukunyamezela, urhwaphilizo welizwe lethu. So we are united by one thing, is that we are no longer going to endure it. We're going to stand up, we're going to tackle it head on, and we're going to take numbers to Parliament and to the legislature to tackle the establishment that has allowed the rot to set in this country. Yes, some of us are disaffected and we come from different political parties. But you know, Einstein defined madness by saying, if you do the same thing over and over again expecting a different outcome, that is madness. We are not mad. I come from a different political party. Nongoma comes from a different political background. My guest today comes from a different, all of us, in fact, seated up here, come from different political backgrounds. And we are not mad. What we are is we're mad at the current political establishment, and we're going to take them on. In 2021, ActionSA was 1 year old. We contested 6 municipalities, 3 in Gauteng and 3 in KZN, and we got 550,000 votes. 550,000 votes. We're the 6th biggest party in South Africa in 2021. I bet today that we're probably the 3rd biggest party in South Africa. But the 2024 elections will show just how big and how significant we're going to be. We are going to draw a proportion of voters from the 53% of registered voters that do not vote. We are going to draw from there a significant amount of support that is going to amaze this country. We are the dark horse in the 2024 elections. Yes, there are disillusioned people that join us, and we don't have a problem with that. They're welcome. If you're disillusioned with a particular political party and you want to leave them and join us, you're welcome. If you're disillusioned by what's happening in your municipality and in your province and in this country, you're welcome. But what you need to do is you need to adopt our value system. You need to understand what our policy offering is and what principles we stand for, and then you're prepared to stand up with us. Now, that brings me to the reason that we're here today. We are here to announce that Mr. Thembinkosi Khawula, beg your pardon, a former Member of Parliament, has joined ActionSA. This gentleman is one of the few people in this country that has had the courage of his convictions to take on his former leader, the leader of the EFF, to take him on head on, to defend himself against defamation cases in the High Court and the Supreme Court, and win. That is the significant part. Unesibindi ukuphakamati high, and then go to court and defend himself, aphumelele. Ba nguye ebethethe inyani. Now that is significant because we want the truth. We want people with the courage of their convictions to stand up against corruption, to stand up against what is wrong. But it's not easy. It's really not easy. It is very difficult and it takes its toll. It's significant also that Mr. Gaula has decided to join us. And I regret to tell you that he and I met last week, but we'd been separated for almost 18 months. He had made an approach before to a leader in this party who is no longer a leader of the party to say, listen, I'm interested. I would like to know what your principles and values are and what you're going to do in the next election. And I raise that today because I want to make it very clear that in this party we have taken a decision that singo vuligate, singo valigate. So if you want to be a gatekeeper to keep people like Mr. Gaula out of ActionSA, there is no place for you because there's place for the Gaulas of this world. So that particular leader that he approached all those months ago, nearly 18 months ago or more, left it there. I don't know whether they felt threatened or for what the reasons were, but I regret that it took so long. But I'm very pleased that we actually did meet last week, and less than a week later, we are sitting here today. You will see, and there's a press statement that we're going to release, that Mr. Gaula has got a very impressive CV. He has a number of NQF, NQ5, NQ6 qualifications. He holds a B Bachelor of Laws, LLB, from UNISA in 2023. He holds a BCom Honours in Labour Relations and Human Relations from Nelson Mandela University. He holds a BA Admin Honours. He has a postgraduate diploma in Labour Law from the University of Johannesburg. And he has a Bachelor of Administration from the Nelson Mandela University. And in his CV, something that struck me when I met him with Uyoli Manase last week, and I only read this in his CV on Friday last week, but I picked it up in our meeting. He states the following in his CV, and I quote, under character and values shared, he writes the following: honesty and integrity, human dignity and freedom, lawfulness and fairness, equality and privacy. And I put a bracket there and said these values coincide absolutely with ActionSA's values. And that is why we're seated here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Gaula to make some opening remarks, and then obviously we will be open to take questions to himself or myself. When you do ask questions, just introduce yourself and tell us where you come from, and we'll handle them two at a time. Mr. Gaula, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Athol. Good day, everyone. As I'm introduced, I'm Chairperson Gaula. I stay here in PE, was born in Utrecht, and I'm based here in PE. I'm in Malawi. So I've long been here. Look, I won't be long. The introduction has just been made. But as Mr. Athol is indicating, when I left the EFF in 2019, I gave myself the break that was required to make sure that I relieve myself from everything. But in 2020, on the conceptual stages of the ActionSA, when the message was put across, starting from the People's Dialogue, which was convened by the party leader, Mr. Moshaba, I resonated with the message. because the message had nothing to do with what I was used to, because I come from a political party that touted ideology more than any other thing. But I come to realize that, look, ideology and convictions are no different from religion and traditions, where people choose their ideology, where people choose their tradition, where people choose their religion. And you cannot expect everyone to accept your religion. But what is important, what is it that binds people together as a common program? What is it that all of us are affected by? So when Mr. Mashaba says that we need to fix South Africa, we need to build an inclusive South Africa for all, because gone are those days where we should be divided on the basis of race, because the reality of the matter is that no one is willing to leave South Africa. Everyone wants to stay in South Africa. Everyone appreciates South Africa as a beautiful country. But there are common problems that are facing all of us. So when ActionSA was saying that part of the problems that we're having in South Africa, we have a problem with management of our borders. And that's the reality. And the reality of it is that because the population of South Africa, whatever amount that it is budgeted for self-sustainability economically, but that budget is getting affected because of you've got an overpopulation through illegal immigrants in South Africa. And it doesn't mean that we do not want people from any other country, but all we're saying that South Africa is a country like all other countries. It must protect its sovereignty. It must ensure that the people that come in South Africa are documented, are coming. To me, it resonated with me, that particular message. It resonated the message of ensuring that we are to ensure that there is economic justice in this country. Look, you cannot gloss over from the reality, and that's what I liked about ActionSA, that you can't gloss over from the realities that poverty in South Africa has got a black face, and in particular an African face. So when the party was willing to stand and take a podium and say that economic justice is about redressing the imbalances of the past and ensuring that you redistribute the economy to ensure that you do not have this challenge of inequality in the country, you do not have this challenge of black poverty, because as long as you continue to have black poverty, it means you are embracing white privileges. And economic justice is not about that. To me, that message, it was resonating to me. To me, it resonated the question of social justice. We ought to appreciate that people in this country are different and diverse, but all of them, they are united in their diversity. So we cannot be having issues of gender violence in this country on the basis that we do not want to appreciate what I choose to be. If I decide to wake up in South Africa and wear a skirt and be a woman, it's my choice. So social justice is about appreciating people's choices, and it's about appreciating that all of us, we ought to live in peace without intimidating and violating one another. To me, that particular message resonates. Lastly, the question of non-racialism in this society. One of the things that I've learned from the ActionSA, because people are coming from different backgrounds, some come from the political parties where they viewed race as an irrelevant thing, that you can't continue talking about race because you are making other people uncomfortable. It cannot be. If we're serious about building South Africa, we must ensure that the question of race is on the table, so that we appreciate that we come from a racially divided society. That is the past. And that racial division has become the legacy of South Africa. Any political party that wants to ensure it builds South Africa, it must confront those racial divisions. So I associated with that particular message. And the ethical leadership, you see, in South Africa, this is not ideology, what I'm sharing with you, which resonated with me, which made me to identify with ActionSA. It's not an ideology. It's issues that you and me are continuously confronted with. Part of the reason of South Africa is that the fiscus is unable to carry all of us because it attracts leaders that become looters of the very same fiscus. The very same people that tell us that they are fighting corruption, you find in the media that the same people are the ones that are implicated in deleting the state resources. So surely that cannot be ideologized. It cannot be made an ideological issue. It's a question that we must confront. It's an animal that is not wanted in South Africa. All of us will wish to have ethical leadership, not just at national level, starting from where we come from, street level, from branch level, from ward level, from council up to national. If we can inculcate that culture of ethical leadership where we agree that you cannot steal, you must ensure that you are happy with what you have decided to do. If you are remunerated for this particular position, be content with what you are remunerated. Don't take extra. It's not yours. It belongs to others. We cannot be a country that is going to live on grants forever, amen, until Jesus comes back. We ought to have sunset clause when it comes to grants, because there should be a belief that at some point we are going to be a country that is able to ensure that there is wealth for everyone to live, not people living without with grants on them. So we must confront those things, and all of us, we must jealously demand that we want a leadership that is ensured that it's accountable, it wants to sustain this particular country. Lastly, you see, one of the things that attracted me to the leader now, because it's important that a political party must be led by a person that, that shares some values. I was in the EFF when Mr. Mashaba was a mayor of Johannesburg. And there are two things that I pick up from what he was doing. The first thing that he did, he accepted that the ActionSA, or the DA at the time which he was leading, did not win with outright majority that particular municipality. And therefore, he accepted that he needs to work with all political parties and ensure that it delivers a municipality that is going to meet the expectations of the people. But I'm learning that it's one of the reasons that he was chastised from the DA. But to me, it showed a leader that was stakeholder sensitive. The second other thing, which is important to me, is that when he came in, he introduced an austerity measure when it comes to international trips. Because you know, most these mayors, I believe Trollip probably also was as a mayor, he was exposed to that reality. They tend to take international trips, and you find that they take international trips for pleasure. He's only going to do one business thing. The rest of the trip is going to for himself. But Mr. Mashaba cut the trips of the international trips, and said that the only time you must go, you must indicate why you have to go to this trip. How is it going to add value to the municipality? And I'm told that he saved about 60 billion in that particular municipality. So if you were to take that approach across all municipalities, surely you could save a lot of money for our people. Surely you can ensure that you introduce programs that are going to benefit the community rather than benefiting the person. As I'm learning, you know, the fight about the VPS with the EFF, it's only now, even though we're not happy with the type of punitive measure Parliament has taken against Floyd Shivambu. The reality is that there's evidence that they created slash accounts to ensure that they solicit money from VPS, money of the most vulnerable people. They took that money. And they took that money, and careless enough, he had money that flowed from his account to his personal account, and hence he was caught. So he was caught, indeed, he took the money. The other one, the other chief Menemene, he was clever enough. Instead of taking money direct to his personal account, he used the card of a particular business which is not registered in his name and used the money, and the Parliament is unable to catch him up. But the point is that at least it's a testament that indeed the money from VPS was stolen. Hence, Floyd Shivambu, by the Ethics Committee, is found guilty. So he has breached the code of conduct. I'm told that their advocate is advising them nonsense, wrong things. What he's saying that, no, the money was a loan. It cannot be a loan. You can't be loaned by a company that does not have financial service provider certificate. It can only be a donation, and that's what Parliament is saying, that you receive a donation which you did not declare, so you must suffer the consequences. The consequences are so small, it's a risk, it's a slap on a wrist, but at least it's an indication that there are thieves wearing red overalls in that Parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khawula. Colleagues, we welcome to take any question that you have on the heart, because part of ethical leadership, as Mr. Khawula said, is being honest. So, and open and frank. So please go ahead, fire away.
Okay, we've got two online.
Okay.
Registered an icebreaker from Jacaranda FM, from Cliff. The one is ActionSA not worried about Khawula's ideology of being a leftist, and contrary to the party position, that of ActionSA, supplementary to that, what is the perception of the EFF leadership style since he left? That one, or rather the latter part is from Mr. Khawula.
Is there another question?
That's the only one we have
Okay.
online for now.
All right, so let me answer the first one. As I said, ActionSA is a melting pot of South Africans who have come from all different political persuasions. And the art of politics is to convince people to change their minds. That is why we've got to a situation in South Africa where the ANC is being brought close to 50%, and I believe in 2024 they'll be brought to closer to 40%, because people are changing their minds. Even the fact that 53% of the electorate did not vote in the last election that are registered to vote is an indication that they're changing their mind, that there's political shift. So the fact that I'm sitting right next to Mr. Khawula here, who happens to come from the EFF, that comes from maybe a socialist background and served a party that certainly has socialist inclinations, people change their minds. You know, when I left the Democratic Alliance, it was one of the most traumatic things that ever happened in my life. After 38 years of serving that party, I never imagined that I'd serve another political party. And when 3 days after I left the party, I came to terms with the fact that I also have a mind, and I changed my mind. It was the most liberating thing. So I have no qualms about sitting next to somebody who's just gone out to take a call, who comes from a strong ANC background, whose mother was a member of the legislature with me. We were there together, representing the ANC, and her father represented Umkhonto weSizwe. He was a veteran of Umkhonto weSizwe, and here's Mr. Khawula, who comes from an EFF background. No problem whatsoever. Siyabaqokelela abantu baseMzantsi Afrika, sidibane kunye isikakhulu bonke abadikiweyo. We are collecting all South Africans from all persuasions who are happy to come together because they've had enough of the current establishment. Mr. Khawula, the second question about perceptions of leadership.
One of the things that we must appreciate in South Africa, we live in a society of plurality. We are in plurality in terms of race, we are in plurality in terms of perspectives. But what brings us together is a particular agenda that we seek to achieve at a particular time. And I have indicated here what I identify and resonated with in terms of the ActionSA. And that is what resonates to me, because it's what is the common interest of the people of South Africa. So it doesn't matter what my personal views, my personal perspective are, what my ideology are. I come from a church. I'm a Christian. Some other people here may not be Christians. But the reality is that what is it that is bringing us together in terms of what should be advanced in the interest of the people of South Africa? So I am submitting to the agenda that needs to be marshaled in the interest of the people of South Africa. And ActionSA is that particular platform to serve the people of South Africa. I come to ActionSA as an instrument that seeks to change society and make it the best it wants to be. It doesn't matter what my ideological orientation is. I am also subjected to other people's views, including ActionSA has got that responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cliff, for a really good question. Any other questions?
Thank you, colleagues. Anyone from the floor?
Andis.
I just want to know, moving forward, as what are the plans moving forward in terms of growing the party? What are the numbers looking at right now? And with these prominent, high-profile leaders that are joining the party, are these the faces that we will probably see in Parliament as MPs if or when ActionSA maybe gets into government next year? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Andisa from the Herald. First of all, ActionSA has been working actively in this province since March 2022. So it's about 19 months. We have established structures in both the metros. We've established structures in all 6 of the district municipalities. We have a foothold, not even a footprint, a foothold right across this province. We've got branches in every single region, and we continue to launch branches. In fact, this week we're launching 7 branches. So what I've experienced, and I've had a long time in politics, I have never experienced this kind of political activism with the kind of significant growth that we are seeing. I mean, I've been part of launching 3 branches in one day in Kambe, in Port Alfred, where I come from. 3 branches in one day, all in the township. Not from any, particular urban suburb. We launched our first branches in Ngobo. Our second branch that we launched in the province was at Bizana. We've got branches right across this province. So I'm very excited about that. Friday at 12 o'clock, this last Friday, was the final day for submission of candidates who want to be considered for election to Parliament and to the legislature. I can tell you that we've had 42 applications to go to the provincial legislature for the Eastern Cape, and we've had 9 applications of people who want to go to the National Assembly. So that is 51 candidates that we will consider, and they'll go through a candidate selection procedure, and as soon as that's concluded, we'll make them public, the names, and they'll go to the IEC, and we are going to contest vigorously in every single municipality and right across this province. We are going to expect the kind of political return compounded to what we got in 2021 in 6 municipalities. Remember, in 2021, we got 22% in Soweto, where no other political party had ever got more than 10% other than the ANC. We got 23% in Sandton. We got votes in Hammanskraal, Shoshanguve, rural municipalities in KZN, eThekwini and Durban. No other political party has received that kind of racial cross-section of support in South Africa, and we expect to replicate that in 2024. So the legislature, the Eastern Cape legislature, is never going to be the same again after the 2024 election. They're going to see these colors in numbers. Naphaya Parlamente, bazabona la mabala, baninzi. We are going to, as I said, we're the dark horse. This is Misele. We are doing our work on a daily basis. In fact, as we leave here, we're going to the next door municipality, Koga, happens to be a DA-led municipality. Abantu bapaya banelsekang, bayasifuna. We've launched 2 branches there. We're about to launch another 2 branches at Humansdorp. Umkakwe to Paya, we're going down the Langkloof. We're going to Hankie, Potensi, Karedo, Jubatina. We're going to Willowmore. From there, we're going to Aberdeen, Grafrenet, Somerset East, Klipplat. Last week, Nongoma and I were in the Transkei. We were in Mthatha, Elibote, Ngeleni, Mhlonhlo, Tsolo. Every single day, we are growing branches and growing our footprint in this province. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so Mr. Khaula obviously has a background. He was a member of parliament. He's going to be joining the Nelson Mandela Bay region because that's where he lives. And when I went to have my first meeting with him in an interview, I took the regional chairperson of the region so that it wasn't just me. In ActionSA, we don't want the leaders to be everything in a political party because that's a real problem. And there was a question about leadership perception. What we want to do in ActionSA, we want a flat leadership structure that is like this, that looks like this. Not a titular leadership structure that looks like this. Because if you have a titular leadership structure, the people at the top, if they fall out of favor or they fall off the bus or they go to jail for stealing VBS money, the whole organization falls over. If it's flat like this, there are many other leaders that can take up the leadership. So what we will do after this, because he joined and signed up a membership form last week. We're now announcing his membership of this party. Mr. Khaula will sit with Uyoli Manase and her regional structures. They will work out a place for him to serve there. We as a party obviously will collaborate with them, and then we'll see going forward. But we believe you must work where you come from. You must start where you live. You don't start at the top, you start at the bottom. And that is one of the reasons why in Ndlambe, where I live, we established branches there. I can't be establishing branches everywhere in the province, but not where I live. So Pierre Leroux was there, and I must say it was historic. All the years I've been in Parliament, I've never launched 3 branches in one day. And we did that on a Saturday afternoon at Jauka Hall in the township on a Saturday afternoon. So things are happening in this province like I've never seen before. And in Matatiele, Nongoma says, Usmisele Nae, 4 branches this weekend in Matatiele. I mean, Matatiele Kutea. It's right on the KZN border. We're launching 4 branches there.
Now, only from the 4 colleagues. Anyone else from the 4? I've got no one online, 80. So I'll leave it to you.
Okay, so if there's no further questions, colleagues, thanks very much for your time. I also want you, if you haven't met Luzu Gokedze, the man with the laptop in his hand, please get his contact details, keep in touch with him. He is the Provincial Media Officer. He's got a great personality. He's fully committed to our cause, and we'd like to communicate with you. We want to have a relationship with you. We don't want to hide our light under a bushel, and we want to bring topical stuff to the media about what we find out there while we're working. And once again, thank you for coming, and I'm sorry you guys were all wrong about what happened, but Mr. Kaula is our surprise. Thank you very much. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And stand up too, guys. I'm going to shake your hand.
Yeah. Yenze.
Ian Zeki.
Yenze.